I do spend a lot of time in Washington, D.C., and as you can see on TV, and I'm sure people say, is it possible to get anything done? But here's the deal. I don't get caught up in a lot of the daily drama on Capitol Hill, and which talking heads are saying what instead of what we're doing. I am focused completely on my work for you. And as a result, we've achieved some really good things for Mississippi. A lot of folks will tell you that getting a bill through Congress won't happen right away. They'll say new senators have to bide their time, but that's not how I operate. I moved quickly to get on the committees that benefit Mississippi the most: appropriations, agriculture, and energy. And the very first bill that I introduced was signed into law by President Trump. I was very proud of that the very first bill I introduced, the president signed into law, and it was to extend duck hunting season, which our conservationists and our hunters were very happy about. I've helped deliver major emergency assistance for farmers affected by natural disasters. We secured more than $2.5 billion for Mississippi roads and bridges, and made important investments in rural broadband. I've proudly supported President Trump's economic agenda, which in 2019 pushed median household incomes at an all-time high and left poverty rates at a record low before the pandemic. And that's just the beginning. We've had good news this morning. The GDP is up 33.1%. Guys, that's the largest quarter of growth on record. Before COVID and the pandemic, which changed our lives so drastically, our growth was at historic heights, and Mississippians shared in the growth with more jobs, better paying jobs, and more benefits. I believe our economy is ready to get back to those strong pre-growth, job-creating times, and the numbers are showing that. We have the indicators that are saying that. The evidence is here. The September job report, the last we'll have before voting, shows that more than half of the jobs lost from the pandemic have been restored. Over the past 4 months, more than 10 million jobs were added back to our economy. The 7.9% jobless rate, that's not good enough. We want a better jobless rate, but it's half of the 15.8% predicted by the CBO this spring. President Trump came into office with an America First pro-growth agenda on the economy, and the strong pre-pandemic economy is helping many businesses and industries to weather the storm of the economic shutdown this past spring. I've supported this agenda, and I know that we simply need to dedicate ourselves to a great American comeback. And guys, it is going to be a great American comeback. Your vote on November the 3rd will determine the direction of the recovery and job creation. Let's stick with pro-growth policies that lift everyone and reject the big government, higher taxes, and more regulations that Democrats promise to impose. Congress must take actions to boost the economy, but those actions must not limit the can-do spirit of American workers. I am focused on uniting Mississippians and doing what I can to help our state restore the economic growth, safely reopen the economy, improving health care, and continuing to educate our children as well as we get past the pandemic. We've had a lot of good things to happen while we've been in D.C. In these strange times, keeping our families safe also means keeping our families healthy. I've made it a priority to improve access to quality health care for all Mississippians. I've worked to bring more support for rural hospitals because we are a rural state, and expand telehealth that is so important in so many areas. But that's something I've been committed to a long time before the pandemic. Since the pandemic, I've worked to slow the spread, and so we can save lives and keep our economy going strong by improving access to testing and supporting the president to accelerate the development of a vaccine and life-saving treatments. I have a lot of confidence in the vaccines that will be available very soon, and I'm certainly going to take it, and I want my family to take it. These actions and others have helped reduce COVID's fatality rate by 85% since April. We're going in the right direction. We are treating this virus much better. We are also taking action to ensure our healthcare providers have the protective equipment they need that was so vital and important, because I think we can all agree that they are the real heroes and they deserve a ready supply of health supplies as well as our gratitude. As we are taking action to slash red tape to ensure going forward that our protective equipment and medicines are made in America and not China. President Trump is doing a tremendous job rebuilding and modernizing our military, because we've said so many times we will have strength when we have a solid military. That's good for us in our state, not just for the national security, but because Mississippians play a huge role in our nation's defense by building ships and other equipment for our military. In my role on the Senate Appropriations Committee, I've worked to secure resources for building more ships and making sure our Navy and other branches have the equipment they need to protect us right here at home and around the world. With our military capabilities declined under the last administration, but we're building back stronger. And we're building back stronger with the help of Mississippi shipbuilders. Through our work, we secured $2 billion, with a B, additional dollars for shipbuilding, and much of that came right back to Mississippi. One of the things we talked a lot about in 2018 was the big problem of illegal immigration and its threat to our homeland security. We shouldn't have to have a pandemic to take control of our borders. We must continue our work to secure our borders, improve law and order throughout the country, and that includes Mississippi. The influence of drug cartels supported by those crossing the border illegally is very evident in our state. You just talk to any law enforcement officer. Human trafficking is a serious crime in our state, also linked to illegal immigration. And yes, COVID-19 has mostly closed our borders, but the problem remains. We must secure our borders. I serve on the Homeland Security Appropriations Subcommittee, and that's exactly what we're doing. Well, all of this said, we haven't yet touched on the transformation of our judicial system and the appointments of so many judges. We've just had the Amy Coney Barrett appointment on Monday night, and I could not tell you how thrilled I was to be a part of that. Earlier this year, we voted to confirm Mississippi Judge Corey Wilson as the 200th conservative judge confirmed by during President Trump's tenure. That means about a quarter of our lower court judges are now constitutionalists who were appointed because they made a commitment to uphold the rule of law. The Senate has rarely ever had a nominee with the exceptional qualifications and characteristics of Judge Amy Coney Barrett, now Justice Amy Coney Barrett. I've never been more confident in my vote. She will be a conservative jurist committed to interpreting the law and not legislating from the bench. In the years ahead, she is going to be one of our most outstanding justices. She understands what her job is, and she understands that it is her job to merely interpret the law, not try to make it from the bench. Anyone that even has the conversation of defunding the police, that is just surreal. They are there and should be respected for the job that they do and the things that they do for our communities. You will never, ever see me engaging in any conversation of defunding the police only to support them 100% and show them the gratitude that I appreciate everything that they do. Thank you for having me today. This is a great event, and I so appreciate the opportunity to participate in it. We've got to continue to get through this COVID. We are still in the middle of a pandemic. We're not nearly over. We need to get back to work, and we need to make sure that everybody has what they need, like the paycheck protection plans, like the unemployment benefits they need for those that are still unemployed and laid off. So that's my priority, is get through that, get this economy back on stable footing, because, we have been through something like we've never seen before. And to tell businesses to shut down or operate at 50%, that has been so difficult. And so that's the things we want to go back and do.
What would you see in another stimulus bill that would help businesses and people in Mississippi?
Well, when you have operating businesses at 50%, that doesn't cash flow. They still need the paycheck protection plans out there. They still need, the medical community still needs so much help. But to think that we are going in the right direction and the economy is coming back. The GDP today is 33.1% increase, the largest in any quarter ever recorded. So we've got a president that can lead us back to prosperity, and I want to be part of that team. But you just have to work every day. You've got to work really hard to do that, and I want to be that person to go back and continue the service to Mississippians.
Hello again, everyone. I hope you've had a great day watching our virtual Hobnob live from the park. We got a couple more things we want to talk about before we wrap up. And I have with me on stage MEC's Chief Operating Officer, Kathy Northington, as well as Haley Frizzackerly. Haley is a past chair of MEC, but he also serves as the chair of the Alliance for Mississippi's Future. The Alliance for Mississippi's Future has spent a lot of time focusing on how we improve the state's image, and a primary focus has been the state flag. Haley, give us a little bit of background about how the Alliance was started, and then how the role they're playing now as we've gone through removing the state flag and looking at adopting a new one.
Sure, Scott, thank you very much. Everyone knows the Mississippi Economic Council has always been committed, even back to the earlier days of the Blueprint Mississippi, recognizing the importance of image and how it goes to attract industries, retain businesses, retain jobs. And one of those pillars within that is our state flag. MEC was out a leader back in 2001 when that failed attempt to change the flag. But a few years ago, after the events in South Carolina in 2015, the MEC came together and said, we really have got to take this on again. And Scott, you will remember, we formed a committee, which I chaired, and the group learned a lot. We learned a lot about flag making. We learned a lot about the history of the Mississippi flag. And we also learned about what we need to do this time. And one of the things we realized, we had to have an organization ready to support this effort. Our polling didn't show we were ready at that time, but we saw improvement. And we knew that we needed an organization ready to shepherd this along when the opportunity was right. We did focus groups. We did a lot of work around polling to understand it. And sure enough, when things started to align and the social changes that were happening here in the country and the movement came, MEC and the Alliance for Mississippi's Future and many other organizations came together supporting the legislature, the courage that our Speaker and Lieutenant Governor showed in bringing this measure forward. And that's kind of where it got us here today.
And that really was an amazing effort, because so many people were together working on that. Now as we move forward, the commission has selected a new flag. Kathy has been working with us and actually been doing grassroots outreach, traveling across the state. Kathy, talk a little bit about what you're hearing, learning, and the importance of adopting the flag that was selected.
Well, it's history for sure. Like Haley mentioned, in the past we took this on and the polling just wasn't in our favor. And we always talk about Mississippi, the people are our greatest resource. So I just wanted to get out in the communities and meet our resource and meet the people that's making it happen in the state of Mississippi. And I've been honored to do that, and to so many it has been very important to them. I've been to the Delta, I've been to South Mississippi, Hattiesburg, the coast, been to South Haven, and a lot of times I've sat on the front porch of the aunties and the uncles in these communities, and they told us how they never had the opportunity to be proud of hanging a flag from their house that represents who they are as a people. So that was a good feeling to me. Even my neighbor, we're different. We've lived next to each other for 20 years. They have a Mississippi State flag hanging from their house. I have Jackson State in the front, and because I want to support them. And we walk outside and we look at our flags and we look up at this new "In God We Trust" flag, and we smile. It's like the modern day house divided. We're divided, but in a good way, because we're celebrating something that represents all of Mississippians, all of our natural resources, our most powerful resource, our people.
Scott, as everybody recalled, the legislation that passed called for the commission who chose this flag, and voters now have to vote on it. You have to approve it. And so our effort, our campaign effort, has been to want to educate everyone on the flag, what it stands for, the story behind it, but also to tell everyone when you go to vote, it is imperative that you go all the way through the ballot. The last question on the ballot is on this measure, and please vote yes. We need 50 plus 1% of Mississippi voters on that question to approve this, so it goes forward to become our new image, our new flag for this great state of Mississippi. So please vote yes. Please vote through all the questions. Go to the end of the ballot. You can't miss it. They have the image of the flag on the ballot, so you'll see it.
Well, it is an important day, and as Kathy said, it's the opportunity to be historic. So I want to thank you for coming out for just a few minutes to talk about this very, very important issue. Kathy, thank you for the work that you're continuing to do on it, and we're going to continue to push over the next 5 days to make sure people understand that. Well, we're about ready to wrap up. We've got about 1 minute, and I think it's very important that we do one thing, and that's recognize all of the staff from MEC that are so instrumental in making this happen. Dave?
Well, we want to recognize our MEC staff. Please welcome our all-star team. Vicki Powell, Senior Vice President, Foundations. Beth Kitchings, Vice President, Member Involvement. Will Caves, Communications and Public Relations Manager. Sally Hamlin, Executive Assistant to the President, CEO. Tom Hughes, Membership Associate. Courtney Mack, Leadership Mississippi and Communications Coordinator. Rosie Thomas, Manager, Foundation Programs Coordinator, Education Resources. Ginger Tucker, Membership Associate. Danielle Williams, Manager, Finance and Administration Coordinator, Data, Finance, and Human Resources. Emily Wooten, Communications and Projects Manager. Jason Word, Manager, Programs, Administration, and Policy.
Well, again, nothing happens without these guys. We really appreciate all they've done. We appreciate our sponsors. We appreciate y'all taking part in today's events. As we close out, we're going to thank our sponsors one more time. They'll be scrolling on the screen. We look forward to hopefully seeing y'all in person very, very soon. Have a wonderful day.
MEC is the State Chamber of Commerce. We are a private, not-for-profit organization supported solely by our business members. But our goal is to really focus on growing Mississippi from an economic standpoint, from job creation, from opportunities in education, workforce development, and really that's our focus on those broad-based issues that's going to move our state forward.
How has Mississippi businesses been able to adapt during COVID?
Well, you know, it's been amazing. They've found ways to adapt. We started really, the minute this started, we started putting out resources to our members about what you could do to not only get assistance, but again, even set up a back to business safety protocol page, just everything we could do to help them get back up and running. And so many of our essential businesses never shut down. And we were very, very instrumental in making sure that they had the protections necessary through our legislative process of getting liability protections for all of our businesses, and the medical community was really important for us. And so we have found ways to adapt, we found ways to move forward, and I think as a state you're going to continue to see Mississippi, work toward coming out of this and recovering. And MEC is actually focused on the final stage, and that's reimagining how we do things. So in addition to the initial relief that we're very involved in, the recovery process that we're in right now after the restart, I think ultimately we've got to look to the future, and really I think there's some things we can do that's going to move our state even further as we go forward.
a national election and then a new legislative session starting in January. What are the biggest issues facing MEC and the businesses it represents?
Well, I think in general, I think what we want to do is continue to work with our state leaders, our state legislature, and from the federal level, how they can assist. But I think transportation, it continues to be a big issue on the national level. But workforce development has become a big issue everywhere. No matter where I go these days, and I'm with counterparts from around the country, there's always a discussion about what we've got to do to improve our workforce, to create job opportunities, to train our citizens better. And I think those are really things that we have to focus on. So as we go forward, I really believe that's where the difference is going to be made. And I'm excited about where Mississippi is and where we're headed in that arena.
Tell us about the two sessions that you have here today.
Well, we have a couple of sessions actually with a couple of state leaders that's going to talk about how COVID has impacted our agriculture industry, our insurance industry. We also have some interviews with Speaker Gunn, Lieutenant Governor Hoseman, where to talk about what happened in the legislative session. And as I mentioned, the panel today that will focus on kind of some of the leaders across the state, women who are really making a difference within their community. So I think we've got a great deal planned, and then of course we'll, as I mentioned, hear from our senatorial candidates, both the Republican nominee Senator Hyde-Smith and the Democratic nominee Mike Espy. So it should be a fun day. I hope people will be able to log in, watch, and really I'm very excited about the idea of what we're doing today. And again, it's different. It's going to be new, and it's going to be an adjustment. But I really believe at the end of the day, it's going to be a lot of fun. So,
tell us a little bit about MEC, its membership, who is members of MEC, and who should become members of MEC.
Well, I'll just say this: anybody who has a business should become members of MEC. Our job is to really create a strong business climate. But we have members in all sectors of the economy, whether it's manufacturing, the financial services, the service industry in general. I mean, we have so many different members. Tourism and gaming is a big part of our membership as well. So I think when you think about who we are as an organization, we are very representative of the broad-based business community in Mississippi.
How can people become members of MEC?
It's real simple. Go to mec.ms, and it's right there for you.
Your reaction to everything that you've seen and heard here today?
Well, I mean, I'm excited. We're really, I think it's going to be a fun day, and I think that we've got, an opportunity to do something a little different in a time when we have to learn how to be different, and I'm excited.